dearly beloved, you're gathered here today to hear Abena's quote. Abena has chosen a quote from Bradley Whitford. Take action. Every story you've ever connected with, every leader you've ever admired, every puny little thing that you've ever accomplished is the result of taking action. You have a choice. You can either be a passive victim of circumstance, or you can be the active hero of your own life. Abena.
Thanks, Ms. Graham. Okay, so hello everybody. So I stand here before all of you today because I've been given the opportunity to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned during my brief, nearly 19 years of life. This was a somewhat daunting task for me for two reasons. Firstly, because I'm the first senior talker and I didn't want to mess up. Secondly, because I'll be sharing some personal aspects of myself with you today. But nevertheless, I took this opportunity because I believe that we're not alone in our experiences and that it's vital that as individuals, we are not the sole beneficiaries of our life lessons, but that we share these lessons with those around us. So just to begin, my talk was not solely inspired by the quote that you heard from Ms. Graham, although that quote does have some relevance, which you'll see later on in my talk. But instead, a great portion of my talk was extracted by the recitation of the following quote by Langston Hughes, an African-American poet, which reads, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." So why is this quote relevant? Well, growing up, I was the quintessential doubter. It wasn't always overt, and oftentimes I took the position of the individual who would reassure those around me who uttered statements like, "I can't," or "I will fail," that surely they can, and failure is only certain if they don't try. I cloaked my doubt under a layer of optimism that I used to quote those around me. But on the inside, I was like a broken record. My inner voice repeatedly explained that I can't, I can't, I can't. A test would come up and the tune would switch to "I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail." A competition would come up and the tune would switch to, "I'm going to come last," and so on and so forth, and you get it. I was driven by the anxieties that pervaded my mind, my achievements, everything from academic to artistic to athletic, were driven by my desires to prevent the actualization of my fears. You see, the fear of failure is an interesting motivator, but it can only take you so far before you become consumed, preoccupied even, with the thought of not doing well, not coming first, not being best. And if for a second you think that anxious thoughts drive success, they don't. I realized that I was limited to what I was comfortable with. Seldom did I overstep the periphery, the boundaries that separated me from novel and sometimes daunting experiences. Fear hinders dreams. It doesn't create them. And for a long time, I realized that my goals were benighted by the persistent cloud of fear that hung over my head. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. But this realization wasn't born from a sudden epiphany at 1 a.m. while studying for a test I told myself I would surely fail. In fact, it took me years before I came upon this notion. You see, back in Botswana, I used to volunteer at a community center, the Mother Teresa Resource Center. Every Saturday, a group of me and my peers would travel to a low-income neighborhood in my city, and we would help feed and play with underprivileged children. These children were a buoyant group. They would take on new games like tennis and volleyball with intense ardor. They were curious, and they were never afraid to learn new things. Although poverty encumbered every other aspect of their lives, it never dampened their moods. I often thought that I was helping them. I didn't realize that they were teaching me, they were guiding me, they were shaping me. I recall an incident. I was standing in an open sand vineyard field, both my hands locked with two children, and a procession of young, boisterous children behind them, when two young boys, they were probably 6 or 7 years old, ran up to a rock, one after the other, and did a somersault off of them. It seems like a trivial event, I know, that's what I thought at the time, but after I caught my breath and my eyeballs returned to my eye sockets, I remember thinking, geez, these kids are wild. But I also thought of their intrepidness, their bravery, and I couldn't help but wonder what their lives would have been like if they didn't think that their economic statuses, and if in fact their economic statuses were not an impediment to their success. But here entered doubt. My mind became shrouded by thoughts that, no, there's nothing I can do. Nothing that I can do to help them. Nothing, no way I can ameliorate the situation. No way I can dismantle the systems that keep them impoverished. I doubted myself. To me, my age was an impediment. My lack of ability to discern the necessary steps to create means, avenues of bettering their lives was an impediment. My lack of any expertise in any field that would lend me credibility was an impediment. But I didn't see that doubt was my biggest impediment. Standing there, I had a dream to help in any way I could to better their life situations. Working with those children, I knew that they were talented, they were smart, they possessed the ability to surmount their poverty. I knew the difficulties they faced, but I didn't want those things to deter them. I still have a dream of helping the children of my country. At the end of my sophomore year, I created Educated Generation, which is a STEM initiative aimed at providing low-income students with the zeal necessary to overcome their economic statuses, with the children of the Mother Teresa Resource Center in mind. When I think of the bravery of those two boys and the rest of the children of my country, my fears melt away and rays of eventual courage, emboldened by my hopes for the future, shine through. So to summarize, I have two main messages for you all today. Firstly, and this is where the first quote comes in, and I'll read it for those of you who probably forgot it. Take action. Every story you've ever connected with, every leader you've ever admired, every puny little thing that you've ever accomplished is the result of taking action. You have a choice. You can either be a passive victim of circumstance, or you can be the active hero of your own life. It is your duty to define your goals. But tantamount to that is your duty to work tirelessly to actualize them. But fear, you cannot let the fear of failure drive you. Instead, let those who give you the impetus to do what you do inspire you. For me, that's ensuring that every child in my country, no matter their socioeconomic status, has the equal opportunity of utilizing their innate gifts in order to secure prosperous futures. You must believe in the importance of your dreams. Now, I don't think alone that my STEM workshops will topple the systems that produce impoverished populations in Botswana. Sometimes it does seem like my efforts are an insignificant drop in the ocean. But I remember that each tidal wave is comprised of several drops, and so too do each of our efforts comprise the waves that create change. Secondly, your dreams will only go as far as your willingness to believe in them. Being fearful is a natural emotion. I feel it all the time, and I know you guys do too. But when we let fear manacle us, we keep ourselves from reaching our full potential and, as a result, from reaching our goals. Whether that means believing in your ability to pass a test or believing that your efforts can bring social change, you must be willing to stand vehemently by your dreams. Regardless of how formidable, regardless of how daunting, regardless of how terrifying the journey seems, let the negative voices that fill your mind and the fears that eclipse your dreams fade away. By believing in yourselves and your abilities and working assiduously to ensure the actualization of your goals, you can unshackle yourselves from the chains of fear and doubt and let your dreams soar, unfettered and free. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Thank you.